Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy K Hustle, the sports preacher, and I got a word for you today. All right, so check it out. Y'all know my biggest thing is these biased rankings that come out for college football every week. And of course, I always think they try to rank these teams based on trying to sell the game for the next week for the networks. I think that's trash. Start ranking these teams based on how they deserve to be in the rankings and not based on because they're a name brand. When do we get past that? Allow these teams that are primarily group of 5 teams, give them a chance to get into the rankings based on them deserving and winning games. Stop trying to allow the quote-unquote bigger schools based on because they win one game, and then you look at the rest of the schedule and like, well, who else did they beat? And all of a sudden jump in the rankings. So let's get to it. So my thing today on this video is taking the teams that should be out of the rankings and adding the teams in that should be in the rankings. So let's go with it real quick. Now, I think Kentucky should be out of the ranking. When you look at back who Kentucky has beat, Kentucky only beat Florida. Florida at the time shouldn't have been ranked that high. But you look at the rest of the schedule, they hadn't really beat anybody good. And they've now lost back-to-back games. They lost at home to an unranked South Carolina team that hadn't even beat a P5 team yet. So Kentucky, get out of the ranking. Second team out of the ranking is BYU. I know people are going to be like, well, BYU beat a top 10 team. They did. But BYU now has lost the second game. And the reason why you beat Baylor, which was a top 10 team. Solid victory, but then you followed it up and you got blown out on the road and lost by 3 touchdowns to Oregon. Okay, all right. You get a little slack for that. But now you followed up and losing on the neutral site to Notre Dame. And Notre Dame is a team that's not ranked. That's your second loss. You got to get out of there. You can't stay in the rank. Next team, staying in the state of Utah. Utah now has lost its second game. Though the game in Florida was close, you went on the road, you lost to Florida on the road. All right, things happen, but hey, you were supposed to be the better team, and you lost. So, okay, fine, you get past that. When you look at the schedule, you start wondering, well, who have they beat? Their best win has probably been over Oregon State. I don't necessarily know if that's a good win or not, but you beat Oregon State, but now you follow up and you play UCLA, and you got rolled by UCLA. And guess what? That's your second loss. You got to get out of there. You got to earn your way back into it. Get out of there. Now, another team that should be out of the rankings, of course, is Washington because they lost to Arizona State. Funny how when coaches get fired, kids team to play better. Look at Nebraska. Look at Georgia Tech. Funny how that works. LSU, get out of there. You should have never been at number 25. Again, I think that's part of the bogus system on ranking schools just because they were playing Tennessee. Hey, let's rank LSU 25 so we can sell it for the network. Get them out of there. Now, I think the one team that stays in the rankings that took their first loss is KU, Kansas. Kansas lost to a team that was also ranked. They played a tough game, though it was at home, but that was their first loss of the season, so Kansas gets to stay in the rank. Now, let's talk about this already because I see it coming a mile away. The schools, the brand names that they're going to try to get back into the rankings. The first one is going to be Texas. They're going to try to get Texas back in the rankings because they blew out Oklahoma. But everybody knew going into that game that Oklahoma was not that good. You see what happened? They just lost to Kansas State. They end up getting blown out by TCU. So Texas blowing out Oklahoma shouldn't surprise nobody. And Texas still has 2 losses. So don't try to put Texas in the rankings because, they got their quarterback back. Oh, they still have 2 losses. And they need to wait a week and earn another victory before they get into the ranking. Same thing for Florida. Florida going to be like, well, Florida's 4-2. They should be in the ranking. No. Florida's got 2 losses, and they hadn't beat anybody good to deserve to be in the ranking. If you look at it, their best win was Utah. After that, they hadn't really beat anybody good. Yeah, they beat Missouri, but okay. What is Missouri? Oh, that's right. They played Georgia tough. That doesn't count. This is the same Missouri team that lost to Auburn. Now, let's get to the teams that should be in the ranking. First team I got on the list, James Madison. James Madison is 5-0. James Madison knocked off App State, which beat A&M, who was ranked. They knocked off Middle Tennessee State. That beat Miami, that was ranked. So when you take in consideration a team like James Madison that's now 5-0, they deserve to be in the rank. My next school in the rankings is going to be Illinois. Now, Illinois, they got over on Iowa, but they also beat Wisconsin. And these are teams that people gave credit for Ohio State blowing out and for Michigan beat. So, hey, Illinois beat the same teams they beat. Why not get Illinois in the rankings? They're 5-1. My next team in the rankings it's going to catch a couple of people off guard, but North Carolina. I mean, though North Carolina is giving up a lot of points, North Carolina's 5-1. I mean, you got to kind of give them a little credit for being 5-1. Now, though they lost to Notre Dame, hey, man, they still 5-1. And, hey, you've only lost one game. And you are a P5 team, and you should deserve a little more credit than the other schools I just mentioned that have 2 losses. Get North Carolina in. My other school is Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina has shown some consistency over the last 2 years, and they've started the season off 6-0. I mean, people will be like, well, who they play, blah, blah, blah. They're 6-0. It's not easy to win in college football, just like you give credit to teams that are in the quote-unquote top 10. When they struggle to win games, man, it's hard to win in college football. Coastal Carolina now 6-0. Get them in the ranking. The last school is going to shock a couple of people, and it's going to be Tulane. Yes, Tulane is 5-1, and they're the team, only team on this list that's 5-1 that has a win over a ranked opponent. They beat Kansas State. Get Tulane in the rankings and get all these other teams that you want in the rankings out of there. That's my 2 cents. I am K Hustle, the sports preacher, and that's my word today about unbiased rankings. I'm out, man. Y'all be great.